Obviously, look around. You don't have to be here at 7 o'clock at night, and lots of you think this is important. So, thank you for coming. Also, thank you for voting. We had, in our new format, using digital and using history classes, etc., we've had a record number of voters. It's been fantastic, so people are really good about it. Special thanks to Mr. Beck, who provided the Google form, the special bunting, and that nice sticker that you have. Mr. Beck. One of the things I want to do that's a little different tonight, we will go through the data, and we'll allow some questions and all that. At some point, I'd like to ask a series of questions and ask you to really think about it. And if you're answering, try to do it in one clear sentence. So really think about it before you raise your hand. We're going to try to get 20, 30, 40 people speaking tonight. And we want to get your views on various issues that are facing this country. Okay? Let's start. We're going to start with the first projection, and we're going to look at what you're interested in. What are the issues that you think are most important in the election? Here they are. Okay? Notwithstanding the strange color, economy and jobs is 25%. Wins 25% of you think that's the most important. Now remember, that's faculty and staff and all students. Okay? National security is second with 20+%. And the third one would be personality and character. Social equality. I'm having a hard time reading it. I'm better with 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry about that. And personality and character is at 19. Am I? 17.4. Okay. I may not pass the CDL test on this. Okay. So that's what you're thinking. But I guess you're not really interested in that. You want to see some other numbers. So let's take a look. Let's move it up. Next one. We're getting there.
Oh. What year are you? Yeah, 17%.
Notice we had 534 respondents.
Oh, wow. Other.
Okay. Hold it on the male and female. Hold on. So we have a pretty even split. No, wait a minute. A pretty even split between men and women. Let's wait to see the real results tonight. I think it's going to be a bit different. So next one.
Oh.
You're exhausted. This is, without looking at the records, which we don't have, I think this is one of the largest victories over the second place winner, but the 9+% is the largest third party vote we've ever had, third and fourth party. Interesting. Does that mean that Clinton will win? Well, if you believe the past, it predicts the future, but it should be a lot closer, the race tonight, the race. And could any of you think why this divide is so large between Clinton and Trump? What do you think's going on here? Anyone? And remember, we're asking for one clear sentence tonight. We're not looking for long speeches. Yes? Aha, interesting. Let's wait to see how many they get in real life. So, very interesting answer. Let's see how many, what percentage third parties get tonight in the real election after Blair. Anyone else on why the large distance between number 1 and 2 in this case? Yeah.
Trump's voters are largely less educated than
Folks, listen up. This is what we're going to do. In order to get many people speaking, we're going to try not to degenerate into a mob scene here. So, let's hear others. Education is a factor. Highly educated people. Is that true? We'll see tonight in the real election. I think. Yeah. Yell it out, please. Okay, we're a diverse community, and various minorities of sorts are going to vote against Trump for a variety of reasons. We also have an interesting group here at Blair. Remember, we had, out of 450, 60, we have about 80 foreign students. In the past, foreign students coming very often from business-oriented backgrounds have split between Republicans and Dems, even leaning toward conservative economic issues and such. And so Republicans have been well represented among foreigners. This year, my guess is that if you put foreign students, they'd be very much against Trump for, again, a variety of reasons. And we can talk about the perception of Trump abroad. Any other people on the divide between 1 and 2? Any other people? Don't be embarrassed. It could be a Trump, Hillary, whatever. Remember, a third of our school voted for Trump. This is not an outlier vote. Yeah.
Socially, we're all pretty left-leaning, and as a bunch of high school students, a lot of us are going to vote more on social issues rather than
Outstanding point. I can tell you that Bill Clinton, when we teased out some of the issues in the first Bill Clinton victory over George H.W. Bush, he won big at Blair, or he won at Blair, not that big, but when we tried to figure it out, it was mainly the senior girls on personal issues. Had nothing to do with the economy and all that. It had to do with the issue of pro-choice, pro-life. Pro-choice, pro-life. So that's a very astute comment that personal social issues play an enormous role here. Anyone? You had a comment. Yeah.
Well, this election, it's the 2 most popular candidates in history, so a lot of people will either choose not to vote, or they'll vote third party, or they'll try and choose the lesser of 2 evils. So they might not 100% agree with Trump or 100% agree with Clinton, but they'll vote for that other person if they think that they're better.
So do you see that as the reason for the high third party?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So that explains that part. Anyone else want to talk about any of the other issues that stem from the votes that you just saw? Anything else? Yeah.
Trump has a very narrow demographic that he aims for, and which is, we all know the demographic, but while Hillary is kind of going for pretty much everyone else that Trump is repelling from his demographic.
I just saw a number that about 17% of the voters, they believe 17% of the voters are going to be people over 65, and they're going to vote for Trump. So, your grandparents as a group will be more Republican-leaning in this election, most probably. Higher educated male white people are going to vote narrowly for Trump. So it's not as isolated, it's not all that isolated in some ways. Let's wait till the numbers roll in. Some other people, yeah.
I think it's touched on a little bit more, but I think it's a good point to push. We're a younger community, and I think younger people tend to vote more progressive. That's probably a big factor.
Although, you remember that we went Reagan, Bush, and then we went G.W. Bush, and in between the two winners of Clinton and Obama. So we voted precisely like the country, which flies in the face of this notion that we younger people are going to be a little more liberal, a little more wild. In fact, when you look at our backgrounds as a school, we have lots of people who come from pretty conservative, business-oriented, and conservative, fiscal-oriented people. So, you know, it works both ways. We have mirrored the country since at least '80, which is interesting, which flies in the face of that. But I hear you, what you're saying. Yeah, on top, please.
I just think to touch again on the difference between first and second, considering how most of us are relatively young, and a big part of social media this year has actually been mocking Trump, which I can see obviously is hilarious. But I think that a lot of us tend to take most of our cues from social media rather than reliable news sources, and that's probably another big reason why that was so polarized.
Please note, though, that one of the ways he vanquished all those other Republican potential nominees was to have that media place him first and foremost every day with fantastic charisma. So in a way, he gets the benefit of that, at least during the nominating process, and he wins, which is stunning. And the other thing is, remember that he didn't have the infrastructure of Hillary, and yet he is poised tonight to take a run at a victory, not here at Blair, but in the real world. So he's doing something that a lot of people like, and just talk to Jeb Bush and the rest of those candidates, they were stunned by it. But the media that you were talking about, that mocking media, is also the media that gives him a place in the front seat. One or two more on what we did. Yeah, Ryan?
Just a comment. It would be interesting to see if the poll was sort of, would you vote Republican or Democrat with our student body or our whole school, whether the red and the blue are more balanced, I don't know. But because Trump is a more polarizing Republican candidate. Just interesting to see that. You didn't ask for that,
We didn't ask for that. We didn't dig deep here. We try to make it simple and quick. I like the way we went through that. It actually worked pretty well. Anything that you liked or disliked about our local election, our election? You'd like to see it done better?
Could I just comment
Yeah.
on one thing? I think with the four candidates, it's not remotely close, and that's not what the election will look like nationally. But in terms of a yes/no to Clinton, 53-47, in other words, 47% of people not voting for, that's actually could be a lot closer to what you're looking at. There could be 47% of the population that votes no to Clinton, probably a little bit lower than that, depending on third parties. So a sort of referendum on Clinton, this will probably not be far from what the country looks like, even though the breakup won't be nearly the same.
Interesting. Anyone else? Feel free to speak your piece here. Yeah.
I feel like the Democratic vote might be a little inflated because like the faculty was allowed to vote, and seeing how like the faculty makes up for like 17% of the vote, I feel that might have changed the demographic a bit.
Excellent. We have a running debate, or not a running debate, but a Republican criticism of higher education and our world is that teachers are far too liberal and they inculcate liberal values to you guys. Remember that I didn't say faculty, I had faculty and staff. And most years, the staff, meaning grounds crew and secretaries and other people, seem to balance out some of that faculty liberal bent. But you're absolutely correct. Teachers in general, and in Blair in particular, are liberal and vote Democratic. Not all, but a very good point. Anyone else? Very good point. And add that to the foreign student, 80 foreign students, who, I believe, has voted heavily toward Hillary in this election, or not toward Trump. Anyone else? Yeah?
I'd like to have seen what percent of women voted for which candidate and what percent of men. You know, it's probably going to be pretty obvious. I think that'd be interesting to see. So, like, how many women voted for each candidate? Like,
Well, just scroll down.
yeah,
not
split it up by gender.
Yeah, I think you can compound the categories somehow to see which.
Better categories next time.
I think it's possible to do it.
Okay. Maybe what we'll do in 4 years is ask the student body to be involved in the process of drawing up our Google Doc. Well, by then it'll be something fancy. Good one, thank you. Anyone else? The last one on just this topic, we'll continue to speak. Yeah.
I was really interested to see people from different areas of the nation, like who, West Coast.
Wonderful.
Or
West
like
Coast.
foreign students or domestic students, like how different it would be.
We represent 27 states, I believe, in heavily metropolitan, Connecticut, New York, PA, New Jersey, but we represent 27 states, so it's spread out. It would be very interesting to see that. Good one. If we try it, we could have a longer ballot that takes more time, but we could do it. It's possible. Be careful. Anyone else? Last comments about our election, and we'll put it to sleep. Okay. Let me ask again. We're looking for 1 or 2 sentences on this. Are you more or less enthusiastic or positive about your future in the next 4 years? And I'd like to ask you about you, not where the country's going. In the next 4 years, are you optimistic about your own future? What do you say?
Yes.
Because I find people are worried about out there, but individually they're pretty optimistic. Yeah. Going on enthusiasm about the future, positive about the future. Yeah.
Maybe it's just a little unsure because as an international student and like going away from our the family and staying here by myself, like I'm spending the rest of the years here, and I'm unsure.
You're unsure, not clear. How many of you are unsure about the future? How many unsure? Lots of unsure. Raise your hand. Anyone here pretty positive about your future? Okay. Let's see on the country vote. The future of the United States in this world here. How many are pretty optimistic about the next 4, 8 years, whatever? Some. How many are not sure? How many are real pessimistic about our future? Same amount as really optimistic. That's interesting. So we have a majority of not sure about where we're going. Here's a question, and we could have other questions too. Comments? Do you believe that the loser tonight, or tomorrow morning, or the next day, will give a conciliatory speech, or double down, or be extreme and say, we're going to fight on, or we're going to mobilize against the victor, or we're going to continue the struggle? How many believe that there's going to be a conciliatory speech?
I think it depends on who.
Let me depend. Hillary loses. Are you going to get a conciliatory speech? Yes or no? Trump loses. What do you say?
No.
Not sure. Maybe. Yeah. Go ahead. Yell it out, please.
I think he will give one of those speech, but there have been rumors around the media about Trump creating a new media network, Trump News or whatever, what he's planning on doing. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did start that, appealing to his voter base after that. I think he will give money.
We got
I think
some-
he will give us.
Some nervousness about the loss on the Trump side. You've lived through a long and grueling, difficult campaign, and now you have an election. You've thought about it a bit. Some of you say you don't know a whole lot about it, you know something about it. How many of you believe that the overall electoral system is rigged in some way? That you don't feel comfortable with the way we do things? And if so, could you give us a one-liner on that? Yes, could you help us out on that?
Well, it's not really effective because let's say you believe in like a third-party person like Gary Johnson, but maybe you wouldn't want Clinton or Trump. It's not like a ranked system where you could put Johnson first and then Clinton or Trump second. You kind of have to throw away a vote.
Okay, well, that's not rigged. You'd have to change the Constitution then. I mean, that's a different system. Our system is winner take all, and a third-party candidate has a really difficult time. We had one in living memory here. We've had a third-party candidate that got, I believe, 17% of the total vote in the country and got 0 electoral votes. So it's rigged in that sense, but that's built into the Constitution. You know? But anyone else on it? Corrupt rigged? Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at the emails from the DNC, then you see that.
What's the DNC?
Democratic National Convention. You see that Clinton won because of extreme bias towards Sanders. And stuff like that just kind of makes me unsure about like the general election, for example, or other primaries.
So you think Sanders got a raw deal?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, you're worried about, how many people are worried just in general about the amount of money used in these campaigns and floating around? So that's a big deal. Campaign reform obviously is something important, and maybe we have that as one of our little boxes in 4 years from now. Okay. So you're not sure about the future, and it may be rigged in some ways. Okay. What do you see? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that I feel like Charlie did make a good point with the kind of pluralism style of voting. With the winner-taking-all style system,
Yeah.
you feel that you can't vote for a third-party candidate because you'll be wasting your vote. So you end up voting for someone who rather slightly represents your views than completely doesn't.
Of course, in those countries that have a pluralism, a system of plural voting, the problem there is extreme candidates that do in fact get the vote and get into power and often can undermine the country in certain other ways. One of the strengths of America is a stable two-party system, or has been. We kind of like the stability on one hand, and yet, I hear you.
Yeah. By pluralism, I meant winner takes all. Like you don't have to win a majority.
Yeah, no, and giving a proportionate representation. Okay. Anyone else on any of that? No? Yeah.
If it's an election, if the outcome of this election, within 4 years, I'll be able to vote, and the person who wins this election might be somewhere in the ballot.
Very good. How many people who can't vote feel they'd be more connected to the election if they were allowed to go to the poll? A huge number. Okay. So you think you feel more? Anyone in this room vote? And did it make you feel more engaged than all the rest? Okay. So there it is. Maybe you have to wait to the college days to really make sure that you vote. Any of you, another question. Is there anything that has happened in the last year or so, or even in recent months, that you really like about either candidate or politics in general? Yeah, Emily?
Well, honestly, I voted, and honestly, Hillary really appeals to me because she's a woman and everything, and so like if in like a couple of years I could say like I voted for the first woman president, that'd be pretty historical, honestly, especially with all of the progress made in the past decade or something over women's rights and just human rights in general for everybody. So that's how I feel.
Interesting. Obama received about 90% of the black vote as the first black American president, running as the fourth in there, to be the first president. Women are certainly not going to give him those numbers. Is it all that important that she is a woman? Emily seems to think so. Yes or no? Yeah. What do you think?
I think the reason why I liked Hillary was because I thought she was more structured than Trump. And I would not necessarily vote for her on the sole fact that she was a woman, but I do think it would help open the floodgate per se for inspiring other women who I think would be better suited to fit that role. I could see other people being more suited than Hillary, but I think she would be a good key to opening the pathway for other women to step up.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
At the beginning of the campaigns, at first I thought like, oh, it's like she's running to be the first woman president. I didn't think much of it because like we had Obama elected as the first African American president, so I thought nothing much of it. But now that like it's been a year and the campaigns have gone on, I think like this is actually a huge deal that we're gonna have the first woman president. And I think a lot of us, because we're young, we said we're mostly like liberal and we lean more like progressive, that like we don't think much of it as like a woman president because most of us see each other as like equals. But now that it's like election day, I see like this would be a huge deal if she won.
Very interesting. Yes.
I was going to say, I just really like the way that this election has swept our generation up into its frenzy. I have seen such a change in some of my classmates as we've gotten close to the election. They realize, wow, this is something that's really affecting our country. It's not something that's not going to affect me. This is the world I will be growing up in. And I'm not old enough to remember any other elections. I don't know if this is something they usually do. But this is something that's instead changed a lot of people around me, and I thought it's just really, really cool.
Great point. Yes.
I just wanted to respond to your question, which is whether you think it matters that much that Hillary is a female.
Mm-hmm.
And might be a little difficult to convey, but I think it's rather insignificant in this case, because the type of progressive voter who's going to be wanting to vote for a female is also likely the type of voter who would be very repelled by Trump's anti-woman actions. So I think either way, whether Hillary was female or not, the type of person who would want to vote for a female would also absolutely not vote for Trump for the same reason.
Yeah.
So adding on to Annie's points, in Mexico, our past election, we had a woman run for president, and she didn't make it, but she definitely inspired many other women to like run for government. And like, there are like a lot more women than there were before she was running for president, studying politics and such. So it's definitely gonna like, even if she doesn't make it, it's definitely gonna impact the way women are moving.
Right. Yes.
So much importance shouldn't be placed on the fact that she's a woman, because if she happened to be elected and happened to do a bad job, then people might blame it on the fact that she's a woman, which is really unfortunate for women, because it would be so much better to have a better, more qualified candidate be a woman. I mean, I would rather vote for a better candidate than who's a man than vote for a woman just because she's a woman.
Okay. No, different kind of question. We're in the same. We're in here alone here. Do you believe that your classes at Blair discuss these issues enough in history and other classes? Did we talk to you enough about the election, or did we give you space in class and out of class? Now remember, you still have to learn other things, so let's be fair here. What do you think is a fair-minded assessment? Did we do enough or not enough, or just about right? That's with the seminars and this and that. No go, and be honest. Don't worry about it. It's just your grade. Yeah.
I think that classes have done actually a pretty good job of yeah. They teach us that it's not biased towards any one candidate. It teaches the pros and cons of both sides, and it gives everyone a reasonable understanding of who is who and what matters most to each candidate.
But I was just going to jump into that next question. Given that we're a liberal faculty, do you feel that we were somewhat biased in our either assessment of events or the kind of questions we asked or the kind of information we purveyed. What do you say? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm in common law, so it's kind of like a lot what we talk about. And Hugh, like, I mean, you can kind of tell what teachers' like points of view are, but he always plays the other side. Like, most of my class is liberal, and they like are on those sides for everything we talk about. But like, he'll defend the kids, or he'll like fight against what we're saying, just to, like make us talk more about it. So you can tell like what side he's on, but he doesn't shut down kids who are on the other side.
I want to be in Q's class. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's inherently biased, but teachers really make a very good effort, and they're very good at being unbiased to the greatest extent that they can be in class.
Those who voted for Trump, do you feel that you were beaten down a little at Blair Academy? Let's be honest here. Sam?
I feel like there, it might not have been necessarily faculty, but I do feel like there were general anti-Trump sentiments on campus. I think that was just as present in the student body, but I felt like it was there.
Okay.
It was noticeable.
Very good. Yeah, Ryan?
On top of that point, along with the anti-Trump, there were also a fair amount of anti-Hillary, just the same. So, let's put that point out there.
Brings up the question. How many of you heard, far more than I did, in the dorms, locker room, etc., all kinds of misogynist comments about Hillary, anti-female comments? Anyone ever hear that stuff on campus? Is that the last prejudice we're allowed to have? What's going on there? Let's hear from you guys. Let's hear from some guys who are in on it. You hear it anyway. Anyone else? Someone else? Come on, guys. Let's hear it. Up there. Yeah, boss.
I don't think that there's necessarily like I don't think misogynistic comments are made about Hillary themselves, but I think a lot of guys do make do feel, especially with Trump's video with Billy Bush, that the idea that that's not that doesn't actually say a lot about what he actually feels about women. Because I think there's a difference between talking in a lewd fashion and talking about sexual assault, and I think a lot of the time, as males, we do have that that privilege of not having to worry about certain.
Okay, but as guys, do you feel there is a certain amount of a certain number of people who are dismissive of Hillary in part because she's a woman? Do you think that's going on? Yes or no? I hear a yes. Why? I know why. Let's hear it.
Just overall, I can't really pinpoint a reason why. I just think people don't like the fact that that others are going to be voting for a woman because she's a woman, and because of that they retaliate against it and then vote against that motion. I think that.
Remember, no group is ever giving up their perks without a little fight. Yeah. There was someone else in there. Someone else, Ryan, you want to do it?
Yeah, well, I feel like there's not really so much anti-female sentiment going on, at least on this campus. There's a bit of bubble, of course. But I feel like in a large part, people are blowing the first woman president out of proportion because, especially after the first African-American president and sort of after people at least believed that we were post-racial, I feel like there's not so much of an issue as gender as is policy. I feel like the whole female president is being blown out of proportion by both sides.
Are you saying that females in society are doing far better than?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
I was going to say then African Americans, and hence Obama was a bigger deal, or this is a bigger deal if she makes it.
Well, I feel like someone's race or gender shouldn't really play a role in in someone's choice, and I really don't see people doing that so much on campus, at least. It may be different in other areas.
That's the answer. Thank you very much. Emily?
I think one of the reasons, I think a good thing about America is how diverse it is. I think it's a strength, and I think that in voting Hillary, I think Hillary, I don't think she's better or worse than any other man or any other candidate or anything, or woman because she's a woman. I'm not placing her higher or lower than anything, but I think it's important to recognize differences and to treat them equally, and that's why I think this campaign is interesting because it's touching that.
Very good. Yeah.
Two things. One, I really kind of disagree guys, like, when I talk to people about, like, you're voting for Clinton or whatever, like, I had literally not heard anyone say, yeah, I'm voting for her, like, because she's a female. I, like, don't think that's a reason. I think that her perspective as a female might be the reason people are voting for her, but it's not just like, oh, I want the first woman president. Like, I literally have not heard anyone say that. So kind of disagree with that, and like with Emily, what Emily's going off of, like, as with her as president, it's like a different perspective than we've ever had because we haven't had women presidents. So, like, and she is going to have a different perspective than a man in like human rights and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like because of all the comments Trump has said against women, that female Trump supporters have definitely faced a lot more criticism than male Trump supporters.
Do you feel the number of comments have raised or lowered the bar, or raised it, whatever you want to call it, in a sense that people can say a lot of things that we couldn't say before? I mean, any one of those comments could get into big trouble back in the day. Are we in a new age, not just with Trump, but with all of us, are we in a new age now when we are ready to accept not only people who are, I don't know, divorced, and people who make mistakes, and people who say all kinds of awful things? Are we ready to accept lots more than your parents would say? Are you more open about all those things?
I think we have to be, because certainly as this generation grows older, everything they've ever said and done is caught on camera. And so, yes, candidates are flawed now because they can't control the narrative the way they used to. You know, there have been philanderers in the White House forever, and it wasn't always an enormous deal. It didn't always come out. So whether we're in it now, I think we're certainly headed to that place, which will make things interesting, maybe confusing going forward.
One thing we haven't talked about tonight is a new factor in American politics, the rise of Hispanic America, the largest minority group in America, that right now, if we can believe the numbers in Florida, the numbers not of who voted for whom, but the numbers of voters, they're coming out en masse, either in response to what is seen as Trump's anti-Hispanic statements, or they're flexing their muscles as the new player, as the largest minority group. What do you guys think about that? And do we have anyone from the Latino community here who might comment about what they hear back home? Yeah.
So definitely, the Latino community definitely is more towards Hillary. And surprisingly enough, even here at Blair, I've heard like Trump supporters themselves have been kind of like racy towards the Hispanic community. And
what do you mean by that?
well, just for example, so I remember once I went into the common room, right? And then when I was leaving, I overheard them say, oh yeah, when Trump becomes president, they're going to send him next to Mexico, which, number one, I'm not even from.
And you have to pay for it.
Number two, it was stupid of them to say.
Yeah, no, and it's hurtful and all that. But, you know, there's a large issue here for all of us. In the coming years, we're changing as a country. Forget about this election, but in general, we're changing as a country, and we have to get ready for a new reality. A large bloc is coming to power here, or coming to play an increasingly large part in our life. And it's interesting. We'll have to learn the difference between the Dominican Republic and Mexico and Puerto Rico and on that. It's not something we seem to be to feel very comfortable not doing that and laughing about it. Again, maybe it's one of those prejudices that we think we can have. Some we can't have, and that's one that we think we can. But this is going to be a big deal in the election, so watch tonight as you see the Latino vote come on in. All over the country, places like Nevada, Colorado. Anyone else? Yeah.
I don't think I just want to question. I don't think that it's about those in the community focusing on losses per se. I think it's just more of responding to some comments that Trump
Right.
or just said where there's a lot of, when it comes to like illegal immigrants, that there are legal immigrants who are immigrants in the community that can vote. I think that's raised the number of,
Very good. Of course, once you're mobilized, once you're registered, it's quite possible that you continue to be a force. In other words, you were dormant, now you arise, and you don't go backward. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. We don't have to keep going too long, maybe one or two more comments? Yeah.
Well, I kind of have a question regarding this issue for all of you guys. Do you guys feel like Trump's movement has been kind of more specifically aimed towards illegal immigrants? Or do you think it's kind of been like an anti-Latino movement overall that is kind of affecting everyone?
He certainly would say, I'm only focused on those people that are here illegally, we're a country of laws, and they're breaking the law, right? What do people think about that? Do they buy it or not? The Latino community doesn't buy it. Do you buy it? What's your thought about that? Or don't have to have it. Yeah.
I've never thought about that. I don't think he's going for an anti-Latino. I don't think that's the thing that I'm sure it has affected other groups of people to go against him. So I don't think his aim was to go against him. It definitely triggered others.
As a Mexican citizen, are you offended by those comments, or do you take it with a grain of salt, kind of, do you think of it as just as politics?
I'm offended by most things, but even if I'm here, like, with a visa, I'm not an immigrant, it's still, like, my people, like, I'm still part of them. So, like, him saying something about...
What about the argument that you worked hard to get here and get a legal visa? Why should you support someone who's breaking the law? Do you buy that?
Well, I've been to many service projects in Mexico, and I've seen how the people who want to come here live, and I see the reason why they want to come here. And I've met in construction roles, I've met people that have been kicked out that came here illegally. Then I definitely don't. Coming here legally, like, yes, it's a bad crime, but in another way, I see where they're coming from. I see why they would want to come here for a better life for their children or for their family.
Okay, maybe, yeah, Joanne?
I have a question for you guys. How many of you think you might want to go into politics yourselves? Oh, come on, guys. We need more than that.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, you know, this is your generation. We have one Blair girl who, we have a Blair young, we have an alumna of out there in the Foreign Service. She was posted in Hungary, now she's in Washington, and she'll wind up being a consul general or something. She's really good. And she came here every few years back when, and made the plea, and her point was, we need you, the best and brightest, to go into public service. We have enough investment bankers and such. We need you. And she also made a good point that the people she worked in State Department, the Foreign Service, were the best and brightest. They were terrific. And we have this idea that government is distant, corrupt, they don't listen, this and that. And yet when we meet a woman like this, when we meet X number of congressmen that have spoken at Blair, we say, wow, those people are really sharp. It may be that government has the same number, at least in my view, of losers and winners, good guys and bad guys, corrupt women, decent women, as in every other area, including Blair Academy, including the Army, including the fire department, and all the rest. So, you know, maybe on that note, we can end. I want to say something. Thank you very much for coming out today. And no one had to be here, which is wonderful. And that if we could do this every week on a subject and have you all here, I'd never invite anyone to Blair. It'd be great. We wouldn't have to move people over here. This is wonderful to hear you speak and speak eloquently about many of these issues. Tonight's going to be a big night. Watch it go. Yeah,
We're minutes before 8 o'clock when a whole series of polls will be closing. Here's the current estimated counts of popular votes that are coming in from precincts that are reporting in states where ballots have closed. Only 3 states where ballots have closed thus far: Vermont, Indiana, Kentucky, at least where we're actually getting real numbers from. But check out any number of news sources and watch this as it happens over the course of the next few hours. But over the next 45 minutes, I would estimate we'll have some pretty good numbers coming in that might give us a sense of where things are going to go. We can look at most current there. There's where, based on precincts reporting as of right now, that's where it stands. We'll see where things are in another hour or two.
Thank you for coming.